Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome one and all to Special Day Morning After Dark. I gotta say, every other week when I record this show, the applause in the beginning is always just as loud and just as enthusiastic as it ever was. It's Saturday. Saturday is a special day. It's Saturday evening, and all of those facts rolled into one can only mean that it is time for Special Day Morning After Dark. We have a great show tonight. I am joined by Adam Alba, who is with me for the morning show. And today we're going to have a very interesting guest on. His name is Jared, and he represents a group. Let me make sure I've got this right. The Anti-Vaccine-Lehis, which is something I hadn't heard of. Welcome back, Adam.
Thank you.
And Jared, if you would just introduce yourself. We'd love to hear more about where you're from and this group that you've started.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. I'm such a big fan of both of you guys. Dream come true to be on this podcast.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
And I'm going to be honest, I was a little surprised. I guess we're on Zoom right now, and I thought I might be able to see, the Lazarus in person finally. But I guess it looks like you're wearing a mask and what I guess I would describe as like a long black cloak. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. The time is not right for my ultimate reveal, but yeah, if you see in the background here, I've kind of got my own studio in this cave.
Yeah, it looks like a cave.
For legal purposes, I have to say this is not the Granite Mountain Vault, contrary to what you might have heard. That's just a figure of speech for this type of show, but I am in a vault of sorts, awaiting the day when I can be released, which should come sometime after I record enough episodes of this podcast, if the contract is correct.
Very interesting. Well, great. I'm happy to be here. I mean, I can't say I'm too exciting of a guy, I live in Provo. I'm a salesman. I just live like a normal 9-to-5 lifestyle,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you're going to get into this group. Vaccines are a very, let's say, interesting subject in the discourse right now. But what I was most curious about, if I understood from your audition that you sent in, you are actually quite old.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you think about age, Like, so you guys can see me on the Zoom call. How old do you think I am just looking at me? What would you say?
Oh, you look to me like mid-20s.
Yeah, I would say
maybe early 30s.
Mid-late 20s. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So are you measuring time by, how many times the Earth has gone around the sun, or is it a different measurement for you?
It is a little bit different for me, actually. For me, I age, like, I guess what a human would say, like, when someone ages a year, they look like a year older. But for me, it's more like every time I make a sale, it ages me like 1 minute.
Interesting.
And so you can tell I'm not a very good salesman.
So what stood out to me the most is that you referred to a human. Are you not human?
I mean, I wouldn't call myself human because I guess I age so slowly and not based on a lunar calendar, we might call it.
Okay, so let me bring us up to speed. Your name is Jared.
Mm-hmm.
You look in human years like you're in your late 20s, we'd say. But you actually age based on your ability to make sales, which we have to get into for sure. And you're not a very good salesman, so that's why you look fairly young.
Yep, that's correct.
So what do you sell?
I sell life insurance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Two
I
humans?
personally don't have life insurance. Adam, did you have something you were going to say about that?
I'm wondering to whom you sell the life insurance. Just people around Provo?
Yeah, just anyone I see.
Oh, okay.
Sell them some life insurance.
Yeah, we should get into that. Just with your general background, you are currently living in Provo. Did I get that right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure the group that we have to talk about, that everyone right now is probably just dying to hear about, the Anti-Vaccine-Lehis. Now, I know I grew up, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. They use the Book of Mormon, which I'm sure anyone listening to this knows. But obviously, I see a striking resemblance in name to the Anti-Nephi-Lehis. What is there a connection there?
There is indeed a connection. So I'm assuming both of you are members of the church. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I am, and I just to point out, just to show my, I guess, devotion. This is fairly it's a good topic to discuss because this was fairly recent in our "Come Follow Me" manuals, the Anti-Nephi-Lehis. So,
oh, perfect.
I'm curious to hear the connection because it's fresh on my mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say great. Like, I wouldn't do a podcast if it wasn't with members of the church. Like, that's how
you're really
staunch
devout.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up as an Anti-Nephi-Lehi.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Well, you did say that you age differently, but that was a very long time ago.
It was so long ago.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So I grew up as an Anti-Nephi-Lehi. Just hanging out with the fam. And then I guess after a while, I just thought it was time to go. It's funny. So you hear about the 2000 Stripling Warriors.
Of course.
Right. They're famous.
The best warriors. My favorite warriors.
I mean, they're not that great. Like
what? Oh, I'm sure you have all sorts of stories we could get into. But anyway, continue.
I mean, they're fine, but let's not make them bigger than they are, right?
Okay.
So I was the 2001st warrior.
Oh, I didn't read about you because the name clearly stops at the 2000 Stripling Warriors.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I didn't make the cut. They were like, if we had one more, we could let you in, but like we're kind of full right now. So I was the 2001st warrior. They would have let me in, but I mean 2000 is kind of like a nice round number. So they said we'll wait. And I felt like there wasn't really a place there for me anymore. So I traveled the world selling life insurance. And it brought me to Provo.
Really? So,
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure we have a lot of questions. First of all, You're not one of those pesky 3 Nephites I always hear so much about, are you?
No.
You're just kept alive by the power of life insurance sales instead of the power of God.
Exact. Well, I mean, maybe it is the power of God,
Hadn't considered that.
I've met the 3 Nephites, though. They're nice guys.
Good to know. So, okay. I'm sure everyone is just screaming at their computers right now, begging me to ask. Book of Mormon geography. You said you were there. You wandered the earth selling insurance. Pre-Columbian, I think. I'd have to look at the timeline. Where does the Book of Mormon take place? Are we talking the narrow neck of land down in Mexico, top of South America? Are we talking about the mainlands of the United States, what we'd call now? Where did it take place? We got to know.
This is a great question, and I've been asked this question a lot. The problem is I can't really remember. It was like a little bit hazy. I remember there being like some water nearby.
I think I read about that.
Yeah, and then some mountains.
I recall those in the
And-
geography as well.
Yeah, and some grass.
Okay.
Does that narrow it down?
I think that narrows it down to either the Great Plains mainland theory or the Central American theory. So we're back to where we started, but that's okay.
Yeah, definitely one of those two.
Are there two Comoras? Are there two hill Comoras or not? I mean, do we know that? Do you know that answer, Jared? The answer to that question?
I mean, that's a really good question. I actually I wanted to meet this Moroni guy, but it wasn't in the cards, you know?
I'm sure you wanted to sell him some life insurance.
Yeah, I mean, he
didn't
it.
need any. I mean, there was no one. There would have been no beneficiaries.
Wait,
right?
unless, did you go around selling life insurance with you as the beneficiary, knowing what would become of these great civilizations? Because that's a little, if that's the case, I don't know about that.
You got me. That was the plan.
Wow. And is that why you didn't get very many sales?
I think it was probably a factor. I'm not going to lie.
This is all, I'm sorry, this is all just, I was not expecting this today. I'm wrapping my mind around it. Wow.
I know. I mean, the first hard sell was that people didn't really understand what life insurance was. So It was like we had to do these seminars and meetings and people just didn't understand. So it was frustrating.
Right. You're starting from, I mean, it's much like the stories we hear of the missionaries who go into non-Christian nations who have no groundwork to even start on to talk about the restoration. You were effectively a missionary going into uninsured nations, and you couldn't even just start talking about life insurance because they probably looked at you and said, insurance, what's that?
Exactly, 100%. It's kind of like, have you guys seen the movie, is it called The Other Side of Heaven?
Oh, yeah. Anne Hathaway's best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anne's best movie.
By far.
It was kind of like that, except no one bought any insurance at the end.
Got you. Have they ever talked about making a movie about your tribulations trying to sell life insurance?
You know, I've pitched it to a couple people, and there's been some interest. There's been some interest for sure.
Wow. I'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that. So how does this story end up with you involved with vaccines?
Right. Okay, so here I am. It's the year 2016.
Okay.
I'm trying to sell this insurance so I can just age, look my age a little bit more.
Right.
And I realized maybe what I was missing was like a club or a society of some sort, some kind of like kinship or brotherhood. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
No man is an island. Am I right?
Right.
So I was just kind of like clicking around on Facebook and I saw this anti-vaxxer group. And it caught my attention because I'm an Anti-Vaccine-Lehi.
Right. You had the word anti in common.
Anytime someone says anti, I immediately I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
So,
I mean, that's a lot. Let's see. What do we have? Anti-Defamation League.
Not really my thing.
Antichrist. I don't know. Antichrist.
Antichrist. I didn't want to go that far. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I found this anti-vaxxer group and I was like, this looks like my bread and butter, you know what I mean? This looks like something I could, be a part of.
Right. We all have to find a community of some sort in our lives.
Mm-hmm. But I guess I'm just not comfortable, participating in things with people who aren't members of the church.
Sure.
Of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this on myself. I'm going to make my own group. We're going to do our own thing. And that's kind of the genesis of it, I would say.
That is Well, that's really something. The first question that comes to mind is about the etymology of Anti-Nephi-Lehi, and I know that's been discussed because it's this group that was. I'm sorry, I'm a little rusty on some parts of the Book of Mormon. I need to rededicate myself to it, but correct me if I'm wrong. The Anti-Nephi-Lehis were the pacifist group who was. They were very into the teachings of Nephi and Lehi. Is that right?
That's correct.
But they called themselves Anti-Nephi-Lehis, which has been discussed. Do you have any insights into that and how that might play into your discovery of the anti-vaxxers?
I mean, if I'm remembering right, it was kind of just like we were just like spitballing names. And someone was like, what if we just put anti in front of it?
Some guy probably just saw like an ant.
Yeah.
But he didn't want everyone to know that he was just referring to an ant, so he turned it into anti.
Yeah, because we got so many ideas. It was like the fighting Nephi-Lehis, the not fighting Nephi-Lehis, and like everyone was just so tired. It was one of those days where like we'd been in the room for so long.
Was it like put to the vote? Because that's it seems like a strange convention.
Yeah, it was.
Or was it just
vote.
one guy just said this is the name?
Yeah, it was kind of like it was like 4:55 on a Friday, and we were like, you know what, that works.
4:50. Yeah, I mean, certainly you had. I have to assume that when we talk to you, you're probably referring to things, unless I'm mistaken, you're probably referring to things you had different names for altogether in those days, because I don't know if you had our standard clock or Fridays. But
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's all kind of like I've been away from it so long, I just kind of put my current mindset, I apply that to the past.
And I mean, when you think about it, it's really kind of sad, because if you don't have Fridays, you're missing an entire culture of people who can say TGIF, or go to the restaurant and say, thank goodness, or thank gosh, it's Friday.
Exactly. I remember the first time someone said that, actually. And it was like...
You were there.
It was major. Yeah.
The first time somebody said TGIF.
The first time his name was Joe. And he was like working in a coal mine.
And he said, I assume it was Friday, and he was tired.
It actually wasn't Friday, which is a weird thing. Yeah, it was Saturday.
Well,
he was his mind was like gone from the coal.
Right. He probably had like black lung and whatever the equivalent of that is for the human brain. Well, this is so much. I mean, every time I think that I can't be any more surprised, you pull out another piece of trivia from all your travels. I guess to bring it back, though, so interesting etymology, whatever, we don't have to get into that. When you found the anti-vaxxers, you were attracted by their name. But does that have anything to do with how you feel about the efficacy of vaccines?
Well, so that's an interesting story. So like I was saying before, back in my day, it was just kind of a thing we said.
Right.
So at first I didn't really realize, the connection to vaccines. I was just like, looks like it could be something for me.
Right.
But it turns out, yes, I am against vaccines.
Okay.
After educating myself. But I know Twitter's going to go crazy, the internet's going to go crazy, I'm going to get canceled, but it's not what you think. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm getting a little nervous right now because I know it is a touchy subject, and
a little bit
that somebody's going to say, "Hey, Laz, why are you giving that ancient Anti-Nephi-Lehi a platform to talk about how vaccines are bad?" But listen, this is a show where we hear all sides, and so I'll let you say your piece, and then we'll talk about it.
And that's why I wanted to come on this podcast, because I was like, listen, they're not going to judge me. Seem very open-minded.
Have you like swung by California to talk to Joe Rogan about this? Because he might be interested. I mean, you might even be able to get on with another interesting guest, like a Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson type.
Yeah, we've texted, but
Okay.
I mean, it's just so far.
Right.
Such
I
a long
mean, you've
drive.
wandered for so long.
I'm done with it.
So carry on.
Right.
Vaccines.
So vaccines. So listen, I don't think vaccines are great, but that's just my personal feeling. This is my like personal commitment to not get any vaccines or give any vaccines to any children that I might have.
And I mean, what in your research have you felt are the cons to vaccines?
Vaccines have been helpful in the past, but do we really need them anymore is what I'm saying. And do the costs outweigh the benefits? You know what I mean?
The needles are really sharp.
That's
The
true.
needles are
I'll give
very
you that.
sharp.
So
and it
what are
hurts.
some of the costs though? Like, are we talking about reactions? Are we talking about autism? I mean, I want to hear your whole angle on this. Just let me have it. This is a safe place for all types of opinions. That's the kind of show it is.
Thank you so much. I actually prepared a little quiz to kind of get more awareness for vaccines. Is it okay?
Yeah. You had mentioned this in an earlier email. Go ahead. Are we
Exactly.
answering the questions? How does this work?
Yeah. So you guys answer the questions individually. Well, like you can say them out loud.
Okay.
But both of you, and we're just gonna see how much you really know about vaccines.
Okay.
All right. Is 8 questions true or false? Take out a pen if you want to.
All right.
And here we go. Okay. True or false question number 1. Do vaccines cause autism? True or false?
Do you want us to say it right now or write it down?
Yeah, say it right now.
False. This is
Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say false based on what I know.
That's 2 falses. That's correct.
Okay.
Vaccines don't cause autism.
All right. Good to know.
This was kind of like a con for me.
Oh,
Because
you wish vaccines would cause autism.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, it's an interesting point, but I'm sure we can get to it.
I know great people with autism, you know what I mean?
Sure. I think we all have those people in our lives. It is a very odd stance, but I'll let you take it. What is
Thank
the
you.
next question in the quiz, though?
All right, question 2. Vaccines can kind of hurt your arm a little bit.
True.
That's true. Yeah, that's my main objection is the needles and the pokes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They do hurt your arm a little bit. Okay? So remember to be weighing the pros and cons here.
Okay.
All right. Number 3. Vaccines led to the eradication of smallpox, one of the most contagious and deadly diseases in humans.
This is Adam. That's true as far as I know.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say true.
2 truths. That's correct. So that's a pro. I'll give you that.
Okay. Yeah. Smallpox. Who wants it?
Who wants it? Not me.
No.
Okay. Doing good so far. 3 for 3. Number 4. If you get a vaccine, your arm might feel a little sore for a few days afterward.
True. I mean, I guess it depends on the vaccine, but yeah.
True. Yeah. Unless maybe there's a nasal spray. Isn't that a vaccine administration method now? I don't know.
I think so, but I don't know if it's called a vaccine, but we'll allow it.
Okay.
So,
But it's true.
So,
yeah, it
yes.
could make your arm sore.
Yeah.
That's true.
Or your butt. Sorry.
Or your butt.
Pardon my French.
Whoa. I guess it is that kind of show.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Number 5. Getting many vaccines at a time can overload or weaken a child's immune system.
You go first, Laz.
Well, I don't have any children of my own yet, but I'm going to say, based on my intuition, well, there was a time in my life when I was given a lot of vaccines at once, but I wasn't quite a child at that point. I feel like they space them out. I'm going to just say true, and I'm sorry if that's not accurate.
Okay.
I'm going to say false, but there's a lot the words overload and weaken are doing a lot of work, so I don't know what you mean by that, but
true, that's the lawyer perspective.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, you got to define those terms.
All right. I'm not going to define them, but we'll see who's
Okay.
right here. So, it is false.
Oh, man.
Okay. You're canceled, Laz.
I'm canceled. I'm sorry.
Adam's pulling ahead.
I guess I shouldn't even have kids at this point,
Jeez.
because what's the point? I'll just harm them.
Anti-vax.
Ooh.
Anti-vax Laz.
I mean, I don't think it matters for being a parent, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
All right, number 6. If you're scared of needles, vaccines are scary.
Very true.
True.
Yeah.
True.
That's correct. Number 7. Vaccines contain mercury that could harm your child.
I don't know on this one, honestly. It's another one I'm a little embarrassed by. I don't really know the makeup of vaccines. And also, if I'm putting on my thinking cap, you said mercury that could cause your harm to your child. I mean, for all I know, they could contain mercury that won't cause harm to your child. So
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say false, though, because I'm going to err on the side of caution. I don't want to be canceled for a second time on my own show. So,
Okay,
I'll say false too.
that's correct.
All right.
whew, that was close.
If I remember right, vaccines do contain mercury, but it's not harmful.
Okay,
So, right on both counts.
sweet.
All right, number 8. Bill Gates wanted to start vaccinations in Africa as a form of birth or of population control.
I don't know where to begin with that.
Think about it.
I've got an uncle on Facebook, Laz, who could point you in the right direction on this. It's totally true.
Man, I wish he came on the pod.
No, I'm
Um,
going to go on the record and say that's false, but
Yeah,
that's kind of risky given what I've seen.
I'm going to say that's false as well. I mean, I know Bill Gates has his own history of whatever, but that seems a little harsh. And I don't even know if vaccines can prevent children.
Depends on where you put the needle.
That's true. That's
That's
true.
a good point.
It's another lawyer perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
where are we injecting this thing?
Yeah.
Got to think about all the alternatives.
But I'm dying to hear the answer.
This one is actually true.
What?
This is really actually true. He said it could help population control because it makes people healthier, and then they decide to have less children because they're not worried any of their children will die.
Okay, well, I guess from that angle, I mean, it sounds so nefarious when you say population control, but
It does. People take it out of context sometimes.
okay.
Don't get me
Well,
wrong. I think Bill Gates is a good guy.
That's good.
But there you are. You have the facts. So now I guess maybe you can see, like, maybe the benefits don't outweigh the costs. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm turning this over in my mind, thinking if I missed anything, but it largely sounded like these things, like there was some misinformation about vaccines that wasn't true, and that some of the concerns about vaccines were more on the minor end, like being afraid of needles or having a sore arm, I don't know what you mean by the costs outweighing the benefits in this case.
I mean, that's one perspective.
Okay.
It's like, okay, we got rid of smallpox, right?
Right.
They're not going to hurt your child, right?
Right.
But your arm might be kind of sore.
Oh, okay.
Is that the cross you're willing to bear? Is the question.
It is for me.
Okay, Adam says yes.
I mean, I guess I see your line of reasoning, but I don't feel like it's a very strong one for me. I'm going to have to say that, yeah, I guess I would bear that cross to avoid getting some of these diseases myself.
All right. Well, that is what a lot of people say, I'll be honest. I wasn't going to tell you, but I haven't been super successful with the quiz.
Okay.
But for me, it's a clear decision,
Is this similar at all to a quiz you would have used to try to sell life insurance? Did you derive that?
Yes, it is. I have a quiz for life insurance too.
Okay. And you didn't have a lot of success with that. So you adapted it into this new anti-vax quiz that you don't seem to be having a lot of success with either.
Exactly.
I mean, not to rub salt in your wounds, but...
No, I mean, let's call it what it is,
Well, okay.
It's kind of like, have you ever seen the YouTube show, or maybe it's on cable, the Billy on the Street?
Yeah. Billy
Sure.
Eichner.
So that's my method for either selling life insurance or getting people to join my anti-vax group. So I run up to them in the street and I scream these questions at them.
You scream them?
Yeah.
That's got to be way more jarring than what we just experienced, because from my perspective, and I don't know, you can tell me if this is different from your point of view, but it seemed like we just kind of had a nice conversation talking all the way through the quiz.
Right, but when you're on the street, you gotta grab their attention,
Right, you're in New York City. It's hot. It's bustling. There are cars honking everywhere. You stepped in a hot dog. You gotta right. I know what you mean.
I mean, for me, it's Provo, but
Provo.
Same idea, People walk into Smith's and you just gotta grab their attention before they walk inside.
Yeah, I guess so.
That makes sense.
So that's my method. To date, I have not been very successful.
So I have a question, though. You were selling life insurance because by potentially the power of God, selling life insurance aged you, which in your case is something you want because you want to look your age, as I'm sure we all, want to look as we feel on the inside. Does preventing people from getting vaccines also age you, or what's the motive there? You just want some people in this group? I mean, I'm trying to think through your perspective on what your motivations are right now.
I mean, I guess I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've never gotten anyone to join the group yet.
Oh.
Which is part of the reason why I wanted to be on the pod.
Right.
To, spread awareness a little bit. So, you might be right. It might not be just a life insurance thing. It could be just like getting anyone to do anything.
Getting people to follow
the group,
you.
Yeah, maybe. The group of the Anti-Vaccine-Lehis is a one-man show so far.
It's a one-man show.
Gotcha.
I like to keep it slim, I don't like to get
But you are still
bogged
looking
down
for some
with
members.
all this bureaucracy and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. You're sort of a I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're kind of like a libertarian of anti-vaccine Nephites life insurance selling.
You could call me that. Yeah, you could call me that. But I mean, like I was saying before, it's not something that I'm trying to push on people, or I don't want it to be a huge movement. it's like it's something I've taken on myself. So I'm not going to get vaccinated. My kids aren't going to get vaccinated. But if they want to vaccinate their kids, they can do that.
Okay. I think this is a good point to. I mean, we've kind of heard your perspective on all the vaccines. I'm sure we have a lot more questions. But kind of to go in a different direction, I just still thinking about your entire past and all the things you must have experienced wandering the earth for so many years.
Totally.
Speaking of family, have you had one family, lots of families along the way? You mentioned kids. Is that hypothetical? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm actually married, have a couple kids. Only married once.
How recently or back in your day?
It was 5 years ago.
Okay, so right before you found the vaccine group.
Exactly. It was just a point in my life where I realized I had to settle down, start a family, and get things moving.
You chose Provo, as a lot of people might if they were looking to settle down with a family.
Right.
And you've been married 5 years. I just don't know. Like, I'm not one to jump to calling things problematic or anything like that. But does your wife, sorry, speaking of problematic, I just assumed that you were married to a woman. But based on the fact that you are a member of the church, that seems likely.
Canceled again.
I know. I'm stepping all over these landmines. The real question I'm trying to get at, though, is does your wife know that you are an ancient being?
She does not.
Is she going to listen to this show?
I hope not.
Okay.
But she doesn't really listen to me anyway. So
Okay.
I think we're good. I think, yeah, she's, we got married. It was great, but she doesn't really like to hear about, me telling stories and stuff. She's like, oh, you again. And she'll start watching Grey's Anatomy. So, I've dodged that bullet. I guess someday it'll come back to bite me.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a very healthy foundation for a marriage too.
We're very happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was being a little facetious, but I'll take your word on it.
I took it as sincere.
Oh, wow. I mean, you came from a different time. I'm sure that a lot of values have changed since you've wandered the earth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. Is it normal to talk to your wife now?
I'm married. I would say, yeah. Adam probably would agree.
I've found that my wife appreciates it when I don't lie and I'm honest with her. It's, not just my wife, like a lot of human connections so far. That's been my my findings.
I'm gonna write that down.
I concur. I got to say, though, she must find something special about you if she just literally ignores you all the time and watches Grey's Anatomy, but still sticks around.
I work out a lot.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, have you been working out the entire time you've roamed the earth?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen. I've run all across the country. I've lifted rocks, really heavy rocks, for a good portion of my life. It's just part of who I am. I like to keep it tight, as they say.
Well, I mean, everyone is attracted to something, and who am I to, shame someone who's just in a relationship for looks? If you have happy marriage and kids and things seem stable, I mean, I'm just assuming the best here, but who am I to judge?
Exactly. I mean, and that's what I love about the pod. Again, no judgment. I can have a relationship with my wife that doesn't involve talking, and you guys aren't going to judge me, right?
No.
I mean, not heavily. I mean, maybe a little,
A
but
little bit.
you'll have to excuse me. That's just a natural reaction. We all have these sort of first impressions that we have to overcome when presented with more information.
Right. I get that. I totally get that.
Is your wife on board with the anti-vaccine message?
I asked her about it one time. She was like if she wanted to join, and she was like, no, thanks.
Okay.
And that's where it ended.
Do you ever clash with that with having kids?
We haven't so far, we haven't, as far as I know, we haven't vaccinated them, but I also don't see my kids very often.
Yeah.
So
What are you doing all the time?
I'm out selling.
Oh yeah,
Hitting
you
the
got to keep
pavement.
the hustle up.
Yeah. And working out, obviously.
So,
Those rocks aren't going to lift themselves. Yeah.
They're not.
they're
Listen.
not.
they're
I don't
not
know
going
if
to.
you're up to date with the latest trends, but lately, actually, climbing rocks has been pretty popular way to hit the gym without needing to, pick up barbells or do repetitions. A lot of people are climbing up on rocks these days, and by rocks, I mean largely plastic and rubber.
See, that I'm very much against, actually. That's not natural to me.
This is one of your principles.
This is one of I have a list of principles, and this is one of them. This is, I think, if God wanted us to climb mountains, he would have made it easier. And if we're trying to, have you seen that movie Free Solo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Oh,
Because I think it's awful.
It's unnatural.
Totally unnatural.
so
We should have been born with ropes, is what you're saying, if God wanted us to do that.
Exactly. Well, he didn't use ropes.
No, yeah.
But that makes
Which
it
is
even
why it was
worse,
unnatural.
I think.
Yeah.
So presumptuous.
right. I mean, I did say once to my wife in a grocery store that if God wanted us to use shopping carts, our feet would be wheels.
Exactly.
Or
That's
something like that.
You know what's crazy? That's another one of my principles.
Really?
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about that after the show because I have some thoughts.
We can compare our principles.
Well, another question I had, and we're about wrapping up on time. So we'll fire off a few more, but just talking about that general line of reasoning with your principles. You say that if God wanted us to climb mountains, it would be easier. Do you think that God's natural path for us is the path of least resistance? Does that philosophy carry out from just rock climbing, or how do you feel about that?
I think like God, like he gave us some stuff to do, like selling life insurance, making podcasts, things like that.
Sure.
I'm not saying these are like the easiest things, but I don't think he wants us like messing around in the mountains. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, I gave you your stuff down there. Just stay down there.
Right. We've had a lot of advancements like TGI Fridays and Bill Gates' wonderful computing machines. And I guess you could say that God has given us those things to take us out of nature, although I'm not sure I agree, but I guess I understand your point.
Yes, exactly. God gave us Bill Gates so we wouldn't have to climb mountains anymore.
So how does that... I guess this kind of brings the whole thing full circle in your very interesting life and somewhat odd beliefs is vaccines are a miracle of modern science, but you seem to reject those while embracing all of the other things God has given us. Do you have an opinion about, I mean, did God give us vaccines, or do you have any insights on their origins if you're not into them?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think God did give us vaccines, but it's kind of like, I mean, think about my parents. God gave us weapons, but
True.
They were like, they hit pause on that.
I mean,
for a generation.
Yeah, you could say God gave you the weapons, or you could say that like they were created by a temptation of man to slaughter his fellow man, which is kind of, of the devil. I don't know. I guess I don't know if say guns, people say guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Am I right?
I mean, I'm not saying I say that. I don't need to be canceled again, but I
mean,
guess
if I could, if I could see one coherent philosophy, it's that vaccines cause pain. You're against those. Climbing rocks is hard, so you're against those. So it's like, God wants us to do what's easy.
I mean, when you put it that way, it sounds like I'm just being lazy.
This is a judgment-free zone, and I'm a very lazy person myself. So
I'm not disagreeing.
This is a judgment-free zone, but I do just have to say, I mean, I'm not questioning your work ethic or your hustle, but you haven't been great, as you said, at selling insurance or getting people to join the Anti-Vaccine-Lehis. And I mean, you could attribute that to a lot of things, but heaven knows there are plenty of people selling life insurance and plenty of people starting anti-vaxxer groups. So could the problem be maybe with how difficult it is for your work ethic? Again, no offense meant. Just asking that line of questioning.
That's a great point. So you think I've been cursed to live on this earth because I haven't worked hard enough?
Not cursed. I just mean maybe you're wandering the continent for a couple hundred years. You have a lot of rocks to lift and some other activities you would much rather do. And maybe you just, your life insurance quiz / vaccine quiz, not the most effective. I'm just saying, I'm not a big proponent, not a big pusher for like a meritocracy, but you probably could have put a little more polish into some of those things. But again, I'm not going to blame you for the circumstances. I can't imagine it's easy to sell life insurance to people who don't understand it. So I should probably just stop now because I really don't want to offend you. But it does kind of sound like you don't like to do really hard things.
This is great. This is great feedback, honestly. So I guess the moral of this whole podcast is that I need to work harder to get to heaven. And if I do that, I can get to heaven.
Sure.
Wonderful.
I don't know if that's where I was. Listeners? I don't know if that's where I was going, but I mean,
it really just depends on you, your hard work. That's
religious capitalism.
I don't know if that's consistent with with what King Lamoni was taught by Ammon, but if that's what you want to take from it.
I mean, all I'm saying, if I can just, sum up my point, is, put a little effort in. It's really that last 5% of the details that seems to really shine through, there's you did the 95% work of marrying your wife, having kids, and staying married for 5 years. But maybe that last 5% could be talking to your wife and seeing your children. You know what I'm saying? It's just It's just that final cherry on the sundae.
I do get it. Wow, this has been an enlightening experience. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you've had a great time. I think that's about it for our time.
And if I may, if your wife loves you, I think that she will be happy to hear that you are a semi-human being who's lived for hundreds of years. I mean, that shouldn't be a deal breaker for anyone.
Wow, that means a lot.
And you have a natural in. I mean, you see her, she's watching Grey's Anatomy. They mentioned something about the, they say, oh, this patient was an elderly man and his heart shut down. And then that's your in. You sit down just by her and you say, hey, some people's heart gives out after they've lived the average human life expectancy, but I actually have something you might not know about me, which is that I age based on selling insurance and possibly getting people to join anti-vax groups.
This is great. I'm writing this all down, by the way. So you guys can, I'll check in again and tell you how things went.
We'd love to have you back. Like I was saying, this is about the end of our time, but if anyone has any final thoughts, I mean, I think we've kind of summed up our advice for you. You're a very interesting person. I'm glad you were on the show. I hope that everything works out. I hope you don't sell too much insurance because we don't want you to age and die before we get a chance to see you again.
That's so sweet.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug for the end of the show? I know Adam got in a little plug for his Twitter account in the morning. If there's anything you want to plug, the time is yours. We'll call this this segment shameless self-promotion.
Okay. I didn't think I would be plugging this at the end of this podcast, but I guess I'm plugging hard work,
Wow.
Get out there, get your hands dirty, climb some mountains. Maybe to get to heaven. We don't know. You can also follow this guy, Adam D.N. Roberts, on Instagram. He doesn't post very much, so you might be disappointed. But check him out. He's great.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you've really had a big change of heart in the last 3 minutes.
It's been crazy. Wow. I mean, if anyone's thinking about coming on the pod, listen. Life-changing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that's about it for us tonight. I'll just do my little bit of housekeeping here. If you listen to the morning show, you've heard all this, so you can probably just turn it off. But thanks for listening to Special Day Morning After Dark. That was a conversation you just heard with myself, Laz, Adam Alba, and Jared. And we will have all of their information in the show notes. As for me, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. As cliche as that is, it helps out a lot. I think that's primarily on Apple Podcasts. I listen through Pocket Casts, and I know I can't review, but subscribe where you can, review where you can. Follow me, Laz, on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, at Mormcore. Or visit my website, laseros.net, still under construction, but you can fill out a form. Also check out Hivecast, which I do with the wonderful Camilla Stark for the Archive, an art group that we co-founded. And we didn't have any conspiracy theories or paranormal experiences or questions this week. But in 2 weeks, when we are on again, if you want to, submit any of those to anchor.fm/Mormcore, or you can email an audio file to laz@laseros, LAZEROS.net. And that's about it for the sign off. So thank you, everyone. It's been great.